If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Hold it now.
KBLA Talk 1580. I am Adrianne Shropshire, and I want to welcome you to the Black Pack, where we're about to shut them down. We are here every Friday with you, breaking down the latest news and information related to politics and the issues that are defining the political moment of this extraordinarily fraught election year. I feel like every Friday that I have been here, we say, what a week. It's been a week, and we have been here for exactly 1 month, as a matter of fact, this Friday. This is our 1 month anniversary show today. Yes, thank you. So, you know, the chaos and confusion with the Democratic Party came to a record-scratching halt this week when President Joe Biden told his party to cut the malarkey and get a grip. President Biden popped out from his COVID isolation to declare that he is still the head of the party. And while he still thought that he could win, the distraction of the infighting was shifting the landscape in the wrong direction. So he declined the nomination. He endorsed Vice President Harris, and like a master chess player, all the dominoes within the Democratic Party began to fall into place, culminating this morning with President and Mrs. Obama endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. But I will say that in all of the conversations from this week, one of the things that was clear was a sense that the base of the Democratic Party was feeling like their voices weren't being heard. And in the sort of closing segment of this part of the campaign, the base was way out ahead of the leadership. As soon as the endorsement was announced, Black women and Black men across this country got busy setting off a Zoom call frenzy. Some of you may have participated among the Democratic coalition. So we first saw Win with Black Women convene the very first mass meeting on Zoom, bringing together nearly 50,000 or over 50,000 women on Zoom and tens of thousands more on streaming services. They raised more than $1.5 million in support of the vice president. Win with Black Men followed the very next day with an additional 50,000 Black men coming together on Zoom and countless more streaming, raising nearly $2 million. Last night, we saw an LGBTQ Zoom raise hundreds of thousands. There was a Black, gay, and queer men's Zoom that brought together a couple of thousand folks to support Vice President Harris. And then the juggernaut last night of White Ladies for Kamala Harris pulled off a 200,000 person Zoom that raised at this point $9 million, and they are still going and putting out calls for white women who support Kamala Harris to continue to pitch in to support her campaign with their dollars. I understand that there is also a White Dudes for Harris Zoom being organized. You have childless cat ladies and childless cat dogs organizing themselves in response to J.D. Vance's outrageous statement that women without children have no value in society and should go sit in a corner somewhere. And it's interesting because Republicans have been screaming for as long as any of us can recall about this thing that they continue to call identity politics. For years, they've been screaming about identity politics. And this year, it appears that all of the identities, all of them, are about to join forces to sweep Kamala Harris into the Oval Office. And obviously, the reality of the sort of disparaging use of the term identity politics that we hear from the right, really on our side, is just simply about coalitions. It's about people coming together. And that is what is happening right now in a way that I don't think that anyone thought would happen. It's happening organically across social platforms. I was, sort of joking about all of the Zoom calls, but there really are, like Zoom has become the sort of organizing mechanism of the moment and the sort of fundraising mechanism of the moment. We even had, I saw earlier, a group of writers, novelists putting together an authors for Kamala Harris Zoom call. So it really has become the Zoom or the organizing mechanism of the hour. And I would suggest that folks who are interested in finding ways to support Vice President Harris's campaign is to think about how you can pull together people. We talk on every show about what people can do. And this is one of the things that people are really excited and energized about. But we're going to get into all of that in the second hour, where we're going to I'm going to want to hear your thoughts. I'm going to ask you all to call in and tell us what you're thinking about the vice president and this wild roller coaster that we are currently on. But before we get into all of that, we're going to first talk about some new attacks on education. Over the past couple of years, we've seen increasing attacks on equity in education, the teaching of accurate history, and particularly the teaching of Black history. It seems that the state of Georgia's conservative leadership did not want to be left out of the race to the bottom on this question. And earlier this week, the state superintendent in Georgia proposed eliminating an advanced placement course in African American history. Then appeared to walk it back, maybe. So with us today, we're going to have two state senators from Georgia to explain to us what is happening there. So on the other side, we'll get into all of that with Georgia State Senators Nikki Merritt and Jason Estevez. So stay with us on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580. Tavis is like George and Wheezy. He's moving on up. Last year, Tavis was number 45 on the Talkers magazine list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. Wait for it. Wait for it. The 2024 list was recently released, and Tavis has jumped to number 33 on the list of the nation's most important talkers, making him the highest-ranked African American on the coveted roster. Congratulations to Tavis Smiley from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got you black.
What's wrong?
My travel rewards card didn't earn enough miles for my vacation.
Are you crying? Are you crying because of that other credit card?
Uh-huh.
Well, switch to the Capital One Venture card. Venture lets you redeem miles on any travel purchase.
Really?
Yep, and you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every single day. The Capital One Venture card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Work is busy. And home?
Mom!
Pretty much the same. But you wouldn't know it because my skin doesn't look stressed thanks to Olay Retinol Body Wash. Its hydrating formula is packed with vitamin B3 complex plus retinol. I use Olay Retinol Body Wash to transform my skin from dry to moisturized and visibly renewed. Sure, I still have stress, but my skin looks amazing. Try Olay Retinol Body Wash for visibly renewed skin in just 14 days. Also try Retinol 24 Body Lotion.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us and our climate justice campaign partner, LA City Council member Curran D. Price Jr., as we celebrate the grand unveiling of the South LA Greenway, Saturday, August 3rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Augustus Hawkins Nature Park, 5790 Compton Avenue in the city of Los Angeles. Join us for a green and healthy festival with free food, planting activities, tree adoptions, nature walking tours, Zumba, yoga, sound baths, and more. It's summer, time to get outside. We look forward to seeing you at the dedication of the South LA Greenway, Saturday, August 3rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Augustus Hawkins Nature Park, 5790 Compton Avenue in the city of Los Angeles. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, LA City Council member Curran D. Price Jr. and KBLA Talk 1580.
You don't talk to me like that. Don't talk to your mommy like that.
Unlike your mama, we can handle your black talk on the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire.
You're listening to the Black Pack on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm your host, Adrianne Shropshire. Joining us right now are Georgia State Senators Nikki Merritt and Jason Estevez to talk to us about the latest attack on Black history now showing up in the state of Georgia. Thank you, Senators, for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Adrianne.
I'm gonna actually start with you, Senator Merritt, and ask you to just briefly share with us a little about what happened this week and why you and your colleagues moved so swiftly into action.
Okay, so basically what happened, our Superintendent Woods here, he denied or rather didn't accept the the extension of the AP African American course. And the news hit here in my county in Gwinnett, and then my educators and students were emailing me. But that was basically what happened. He just refuses to adopt the AP course in the standard curriculum for the state of Georgia and how we do every other AP course.
Right.
Now, I want to kind of go back a little bit because now there's a story that he reversed his decision.
Right.
He did not reverse his decision. It wasn't a reversal at all, but it was just this vague kind of insulting attempt to cloud the issue for the public. In reality, he has not changed his position. His intent still remains clear that he is not approving the AP African American course as a state curriculum course. And he is just trying to kind of cloud the whole issue right now.
Right. And so, Senator Estevez, that's actually partly where even I got confused the other day. I saw the response from Governor Brian Kemp. The superintendent seemed to back off. And then it was unclear that was actually what happened. So what is the plan now? What are you all, your colleagues, Senator Estevez, doing to not only just bring attention to this, but also to push back on the superintendent?
Well, we have to continue to keep up the pressure, Adrianne, and shout out goes to my colleague, Senator Merritt, for identifying the issue and calling a press conference where dozens of folks gathered to call the state superintendent out. At the end of the day, this is about funding, and I represent an area of Northwest Atlanta where we are fortunate to be in Atlanta Public Schools in the city's school district, and we have enough resources to where even if the state does not provide funding for AP African American history, we will continue to offer it to our students. But that's not going to be the case in other school districts. And this is a continuation of a continued attack on the study of Black history. And it's incumbent on all of us to continue to keep up the pressure to force the state to pay for the course, and not only pay for the course, but to ensure that students are receiving AP credit for that course. As Senator Merritt said, the way the superintendent has muddied the water a bit is he has said, well, school districts can use a different code for intro to African American studies, which if you have a high schooler, you know that those course codes are important when it comes to college credit, when it comes to scholarships. So essentially what he's doing is he's treating that course differently than he would treat AP European history, for example,
right?
Which is unacceptable.
Right. Well, I wonder, in the course of, as we've seen these attacks on Black history curriculum, Senator Merritt, you talked about, when you first learned of this and the way that educators and students responded. I mean, one of my questions to you would be how have students responded? I mean, have students reached out? Are they organizing themselves? What has been, because obviously there's a real impact when you talk about separating AP African American Studies. We are treating it differently than you treat, as Senator Estevez said, other AP courses. The impact is not just on the curriculum and the students' ability to get those classes for college credit, et cetera, but on the students themselves and them not being able, seeing their history treated differently. So what have you seen in terms of the impact that this has had on students this week?
Yeah, honestly, Adrian, the students have felt blindsided. They feel like that the state is trying to hide a part of history that is very important to how American history is shaped. They just are expressing, deep concerns about even this whole process. And what's happening is we're 2 weeks shy of school starting,
right.
And a lot of the kids in my district just found out on Monday that their class was dropping. So what I'm hearing from them is outrage. I'm hearing from them they are looking for paths to where they can push back. I have encouraged people to call the superintendent, to call the board members, to call Governor Kemp and let them know that you are outraged and this is unacceptable. So that's kind of some of what I have been encouraging people to do and encouraging the public to do. We have to push back and we have to let we have to let the governor know, because frankly, the governor chooses the board members.
Right.
And and he was also the author of what he signed, HB 1084, which y'all remember is the Divisive Concepts Bill. And it was based on, the attacks on
Senator,
critical race theory.
explain that to listeners that don't know what the Divisive Concepts Law is.
Right. So the Divisive Concepts Bill, it came about as it was 2 years ago, the whole issue with CRT and
critical race theory.
Critical race theory. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was the critical race theory. So out of the critical race theory argument 2 years ago, Georgia Republicans came up with House Bill 1084, and it was rebranded the Divisive Concepts Bill. It was the similar legislation we have seen in Florida. And basically it would restrict discussions about race and racism in the classroom. Yet this particular AP class is exempt from that because it is a college level course. And the state superintendent has completely disregarded that there is an exemption. And along with that, he hasn't even really given us a clear explanation of why he is denying the class.
So he's really kind of out of bounds here. And the governor did. The governor did respond. What was his response about Senator Merritt? What was he? I saw that he raised questions. Is what I saw. He raised some questions.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he is complicit in directing Superintendent Woods at this point. I think what his questions were to distract from implicating himself in denying African American studies in the state of Georgia, because again, he did sign HB 1084, which was the Divisive Concepts Bill, and I think he is trying to underground separate himself, but at the
from
same
an unpopular
time,
decision. He's trying to distance himself from an unpopular decision.
Because we have some elections coming up, so it's a political move. So he doesn't want to have this on his record publicly. However, I will say again, he chooses the board members, and I can tell you, Brian Kemp, when he picks up the phone and he asks for something, it gets done. So don't think for a minute. I think that was very deceptive, those questions that he was asking and putting that out there. And it was for a reason, to kind of throw people off. But he could act right now, and he could call the board members to act. They could actually call a meeting to adopt the class, put a code on it and pass it out.
It could be done if you wanted it done.
It can be done if they wanted it done.
Senator Estevez, you previously served, I think, 9 years on the Atlanta School Board, including as board chair. Can you talk to us a little bit about how these types of decisions from really hostile state leadership can impact the ability of local school districts to best serve the needs of Black students?
Yeah, well, it does a few things. One, it distracts school leadership and district leadership from their core mission, which is educating children, right? If you constantly have to adjust to state policy that doesn't get to the core mission of educating students, then you're spending a lot of time. You're spinning your wheels on things that ultimately should not matter. But it's also demoralizing to teachers to hear from state leaders that they don't value discourse. They don't value the role of an educator in a classroom, and that hurts recruiting. And you hear these Republican leaders talk about how hard it is to recruit teachers to schools, yet they're doing everything that they can to make it harder to teach children, whether it's limiting the content that they can teach, whether it's limiting the discussion that you can have with children. What my colleague, Senator Merritt, talked about with the Divisive Concepts Bill, it not only limits books, but it also limits discourse. And there's been a teacher who was fired in a district that I represent because she read a book that touched on LGBTQ issues. And she was fired because that was a divisive concept.
Right.
And when you're in that kind of environment where you're scrutinized for everything that you do, why would you take that kind of pressure, especially with the pay that our teachers receive, in the environment that they're receiving it? It's just not worth it. And they're making it, they're creating this environment that makes it harder for teachers to teach and students to learn.
Right, and so teachers feel under siege, feel like they're being watched. Can you talk a little bit about school boards and the importance of school boards in this moment? And we've seen some increased attention being paid to school board races. And it is an election year, and I think oftentimes, particularly in a presidential election year, we talk a lot about the top of the ticket, right? And we forget that there are very important decisions that get made at the local level. We also know, and I think to Senator Merritt's point, we also know that when we have state level races that we are electing leaders who then are in a position to appoint folks who are making decisions about our education and the educational system that our children are in and that our teachers teach in. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of school boards and the importance of having strong school boards and school board members?
It is incredibly important to have school board members that are focused on students and that are courageous and will fight back against anything that distracts from a school district's core mission, which is to educate children. And this is a key example of that, where in a school district like Atlanta, where you have school board members that understand the importance of teaching Black history, they have said, you know what, regardless of what the state does, we have flexibility to fund the course ourselves, and we're going to do that because we think it is that important for our children to have that option. If you had a school board that was not as courageous as Atlanta's, or did not prioritize educational equity, then they could potentially make a decision that the course was not worth fighting for because of the divisive concepts law, or because that funding can be used in other places. So who you elect to the school board determines not only the vision and the direction of the school system, but it also dictates the priorities that school system has. And if you want children to be centered, if you want equity in education, if you want a rich and diverse curriculum, then you need school boards that are going to stand up against the trends that we're seeing across the country. And I want to remind your listeners that this is not new. This is not something that started in Georgia.
Right.
These attacks have been going on all across the country. And in fact, this AP African American history course was already watered down because of the scrutiny that it had gotten over the years. The College Board watered the course down. So we're dealing with a lighter version of the AP course, and still states like Virginia, Georgia are attacking it.
Right. And this is really important because it also reminds hopefully listeners and folks, activists in states to stay vigilant, that assuming that something's going to happen, has happened in some other state, it's not going to come to your state, is not something that we can rely on. I mean, we talk a lot and have been talking a lot about Project 2025 and the implications for all sorts of sectors, right? In across our government, education being one of those, and we've been saying to folks that we need to be careful about assuming that Project 2025 and its policy implications, aren't going to come to be, unless there's a second Trump administration. But the reality is that the policy ideas are, in fact, happening right now in terms of, some of the Supreme Court decisions, some of the policy and legislation that's been passed in state legislatures across the country, and then just these kinds of attacks. So I just think it's really important for folks to stay vigilant, to stay woke. I guess we still say that, and be mindful that these attacks are possible in your community, and that your school boards in some ways are a real line of defense against that. We're going to continue this conversation with Georgia State Senators Nikki Merritt and Senator Estevez when we come forward. We have a few more questions for you all before I let you go.
More of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Vice President Harris, who is black, says she's ready to debate Donald Trump. Harris told reporters that she has agreed to debate Trump at the pre-scheduled presidential debate on September 10th with ABC. She said Trump had previously agreed to the debate with Biden, but is now backpedaling, and added that voters deserve to see the split screen that exists in the race on the debate stage. The U.S. House of Representatives is setting up a bipartisan task force to investigate the Trump assassination attempt. House Speaker Mike Johnson and Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, who is black, said this week the task force will be made up of several Republicans and 6 Democrats and will have subpoena authority. Lawmakers are condemning pro-Palestinian protesters who burn an American flag and deface property blocks from the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who is black, called it unacceptable and said anyone engaging in that conduct should be held accountable. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
An earlier fire in Vasquez Rocks has been extinguished on the 14 southbound just past Escondido Canyon Road. A brush fire has been put out. The right-hand lane was closed for that firefighting operation. You're still backed up, though, from Red Rover Mine Road. 118 eastbound just before San Fernando Road is a disabled vehicle in the right lane. South LA on the 110 northbound before Vernon, it's an accident clearing from the right lane. You're backed up to El Segundo Boulevard.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
LA Mayor Karen Bass arrived in Paris Thursday night to participate in today's opening ceremonies for the Summer Olympic Games. Bass is scheduled to join First Lady Jill Biden and several mayors mayors of European cities in the final stages of walking with the Olympic torch. At the final destination, the torch will be lit, signaling that the Games are about to begin. Bass is in Paris to observe the operations of the Summer Olympics, which will be in LA in 2028. The Chicago Bears are making sure former USC quarterback Caleb Williams will be ready for the 2024 season. The number one pick of this year's NFL draft is getting most of the reps in practice with the starting unit. Early reports indicate Williams has been impressive in the first 2 days of practice. The Bears have already named Williams their starter when they played their regular season opener September 8th against Tennessee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Environmental justice is racial justice.
Environmental justice is social justice.
This is KBLA Talk 1580.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us for a book party celebrating The Covenant with Black America 20 years later. Almost 2 decades ago, the Covenant book, compiled and edited by Tavis Smiley, climbed to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list and stayed there for weeks. The first book by a Black-owned publisher to achieve such a feat. The urgency of the issues that matter most to Black fellow citizens has only intensified, especially in this critical election year. On Wednesday evening, August 14th, 6 to 9 p.m., come meet Tavis Smiley alongside Covenant contributors including Cornel West, Connie Rice, Mark Ridley Thomas, Elisa Orduna, Tyrone Howard, and Melina Abdullah as they sign copies of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later. You can purchase your books on site and get them autographed. That's Wednesday evening, August 14th, 6 to 9 p.m. in the city of Los Angeles. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580,
we've got your black.
Let's get back to more of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
WELOVE 108 FM.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. You are listening to the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire, and we are in conversation with Georgia State Senators Nikki Merritt and Jason Estevez about the recent attacks on Black history curriculum in the state of Georgia. Senator Merritt, we talked a little bit in the previous conversation about what attacks and on concepts like DEI, critical race theory, and how those attacks really are used to erode progress, really, right? Erode advancement in our education, certainly in the last few years, if not the last few decades. We talked a little bit, or you talked a little bit about parents and students and how they can engage. I'm going to ask you just to say a little bit more on how parents can fight back. I think, we talked about the impacts and the implications for children, especially I always forget that you all go back to school earlier than in other parts of the country. And I was a little bit, like shocked in a way when you said y'all are 2 weeks away from the start of classes, and kids have, they have to know what their classes are. And so how can parents and students as well, but what can parents do? How should they be thinking about how they engage and how they fight back?
Well, first of all, it is what you already hit on, and this is longer term, but we have to be more conscious about who we're putting in these seats. From governor, I always say that state races, to me, are the most important. Yep. Not that we don't love our federal races, but we have to pay attention to who we're putting in these seats. For instance, I just keep reiterating, the governor chooses these board members, and we need a governor that can choose members that are more reflective of our communities. So when you don't have people that are not reflective of communities, you get policies like, you get stuff like this. Right. So what parents can do is really stay engaged in our processes and what we're doing here in the state. That's the first thing. The second thing is kind of, I'm going to reiterate what I said previously. Reach out to the superintendent. Call and ask these questions. Why we have gotten no answer. Why is this AP African American Studies treated differently than any other AP course? What specifically about this curriculum were you objectionable to? These are the type of questions they should be calling and pressing and asking him. Call the governor and ask him, hey, we saw your questions. What are you going to do now? We are asking this of you because I'm a concerned parent and my children are concerned, and we're concerned about you canceling a course that has significant impact on our history and our children's understanding. And then again, reach out to those board members. Board members are assigned by congressional district. Go look them up today on the DOE website, Department of Education website for Georgia. Find out who your particular board member is for the state. Call them, write them, and start asking these same questions. Right.
It's about accountability. And I think that sometimes when folks have state leadership that is a different party, political party than them, sometimes we say, well, they're not there to represent us anyway. But the fact of the matter is they are. And regardless of whether or not your governor or other elected leaders are, have the same political party as you or not, they're there to represent you. They're elected to that office. They have to represent everybody, and it is still our responsibility to hold them accountable when they're not. Senator Estevez, I want to ask, you said something that I just want you to explain maybe a little bit. We have a little bit of time, but I think it was important in terms of what you said about AP classes and the implications for kids in college. There is I think especially in a city like Los Angeles, where there were, students actually led fights, a decade or so ago to make sure that they had AP classes in South LA schools. This is very serious for kids' futures in terms of not only their ability to get, college credit, but their ability to have whatever number of AP classes helps them in their application processes. So will you talk about that connection a little bit and why this matters so much for Black students?
Well, Adrianne, there's a specific point that really matters to Black and brown children, and when I think about African American history and AP, the credit that you can get, I'm thinking about scholarships.
Right.
I'm thinking about financial aid.
Right.
And the bump that you get with AP courses is undeniable, which is why so many kids take it. And the notion that you would be depriving black children from that extra credit that they're supposed to be getting, and that could potentially impact a financial aid package that they receive from a college or university. Or in Georgia, it has a very direct consequence on the Hope Scholarship, which is our state-funded scholarship program. Depending on your GPA, that dictates how much money you get. This course can have a direct impact on that money. So we have black children that rely on financial aid for a number of reasons, a lot of systemic reasons. And the irony that the state superintendent is denying children the opportunity to get credit when that opportunity is there for other AP courses. And I want to reiterate, AP European History, AP Biology, all kinds of AP courses. Yet a significant part of our history, African American history, is treated differently for no apparent reason, because we still have not received a reason why he has decided not to provide this course its due credit. And I want to reiterate what Senator Merritt said, which is this also falls on the feet of the governor. The governor could talk to his state board of education members that he appoints and encourage them to hold a meeting and bring a motion forward to authorize this course in the state's curriculum. We don't need a state superintendent. We are a governor powerful state, and as a result, he can force those changes, but he has not done so. And whether it's the state superintendent or the governor, we need Republican leadership to act on this issue.
Right, and so the importance of folks being civically active in the way that Senator Merritt said, in terms of making those calls, show up, right? Put pressure on folks. Senator Merritt, I want to. I heard you in the amen corner when Senator Estevez was talking about the impact on students and college. I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to that also, if you wanted to.
Oh, and I was just reiterating that it does have implications about funding and scholarships that the kids can get if we're going to not code this as a real AP study class versus the proposal that everyone saw in the news, that he has reversed his decision. And again, that was not a reversal, but instead he's given us a separate but equal doctrine of the 1800s when it comes to this particular course. So I was just reiterating the fact that AP course is designed to be a higher level, more rigorous course to get you ready, to have that college credit. And tied to that is funding, is scholarship money that is very important.
Yeah, and I think that the language that you just used and that both of you have used throughout this conversation, but then the language of separate but equal feels appropriate, right? I mean, we need to think about, and again, when we when we look at what's been happening and the ways in which state legislatures have been attempting to roll back all sorts of things, right? When we think about this, sort of very, very dangerous doctrine that's out there, this Project 2025, and the implications that it will have for schools and education in general. Like, there really is language that we should be using that takes us back to, and this is the unfortunate thing, should not be taking us back to, right? But it causes us to have to reflect on times past when when things like separate, and unequal were realities for our community.
Yeah. And what we're seeing is, Governor Kemp and the Republicans keep wanting to move us backwards. Mm-hmm. These conservative attacks on our democracy they're not moving us in the right direction. We know that Project 2025 will advance, as it's proposed, advances more systemic racism, undermines our democracy, puts our freedoms and safety at risk, and attacks these working families that we're essentially talking about.
Right.
So, bans on the study of history and Black history is just, a broader assault.
Right.
It's just starting with education, but this is a broader assault on students and young people and our next generation of leaders.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, and I want to reiterate really quickly, Adrianne, you made this point, Senator Merritt has made this point, but it's important to highlight again. Mm-hmm. There are folks around this country, whether it's Project 2025 being implemented at the federal level, the state level, or the local level, a certain party, the Republican Party, has figured out that they can win local races, especially in mid to smaller size governments.
Yeah.
It may not happen in LA proper, but they're looking for smaller municipalities and counties.
Yes.
Where they can get a toehold and pass Project 2025 like policies, and we're seeing that all across the country. And they did not just start this yesterday.
That's right.
They've been doing this for years, which is why we're seeing it play out in school boards, on city councils, on county commissions, and in the governor's mansion.
Yeah. I want to thank you both for joining me today, to bringing this issue to light for some people. I imagine may not have been, there's been so much going on this week. I imagine that some people hadn't heard about it, but just really critical and important. And also, I just want to thank you all for being in the seats that you're in. You all have a hard job, and you really do stand in the gap on some of this stuff. You have to fight back right there in the Capitol, and the work that you do is just really important. And I know not just for your constituents, but for all of us, when you all come onto a show like this and inform the listeners. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm so grateful to have Georgia State Senators Nikki Merritt and Jason Estevez, and I hope that you all will come back and keep us updated on this issue. When we come forward, we're going to talk a little bit about what you all want to talk about. Quite frankly, call in. We're looking to hear you all's thoughts. Jump in on the live chat on YouTube, 1-800-920-1580, 1-800-920-1580. We'll hear from you all when we come forward.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys. Let's take our auntie to the swap meet. Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $2,860 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go.
The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Thea Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You don't talk to me like that. You don't talk to your mommy like that.
Unlike your mama, we can handle your black talk on the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire.
This is the Black Pack on KBLA Talk 1580. I am your host, Adrianne Shropshire, and I'm really appreciative of the 2 state senators from Georgia who were just on with us. I want to just reiterate to folks the point that Senator Estevez made about local races. And again, during a presidential election cycle, we often get caught up in the presidential race. That's important. We all know that. It matters for a whole host of reasons. But it also is important for us to be paying really close attention to races that are happening a little bit closer to home. We have on the line with us now Anoa from Atlanta. Hi, Anoa.
Hi, Adrian. Thanks so much for taking the call. I really appreciate you doing the show. Just, a parent, a former APS student, and checking in with the show. Like, Georgia turned purple for a reason. We are one of the fastest rapidly diversifying states in the country. We're projected to be majority non-white in the next few years. So really seeing, the state superintendent and elected officials here chime on in the race to the bottom with DeSantis and others and trying to not just stifle Black education, but really deny Black children and Black communities an opportunity at a well-resourced future is pretty disheartening. And it's just a weird moment we're in right now because we also have the excitement with the upcoming election now. And just, I really do appreciate, like you were just saying, the touchstone about we need to look at the local races and we need to look at some of these other niche positions like state superintendent that a lot of people probably don't even have on their radar.
Were you surprised when this happened in the state capitol this week when the state superintendent sort of came out of nowhere and was like, we're not doing it?
Yes, because you had that first wave like last year of these attacks and stuff. And, it went through all the different updates and changes and whatever. And, yeah, I was pretty surprised. And also, I heard remarks from Senator Merritt also earlier in the week about how this one class is being singled out from all the other 30-plus AP studies. Like my daughter did AP in school, and it is an opportunity for kids to get college credit. But also, I know so many of my colleagues when I was in college remarked that they never got Black history. They never got real history of our folks until they were in an upper level college course, right? Not even like freshman year. So this is a real, opportunity. And to say that you could teach the class, but they're not going to do the AP class, that just takes so much opportunity away from Black students and other students who want to learn about our history and our culture.
And are you seeing parents like yourself, mobilizing or at least having conversations about what to do and how to push back?
Well, I think with back to school quickly approaching, I mean, Georgia schools are going back within this next week or two. And I'm pretty sure like people are getting up to speed and really wondering what's going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing like how, with the senators, there are several progressive education policy folks here too, and parents, how people really do step up and see what we do. I know Atlanta Public Schools and DeKalb County Schools, two of the larger urban school districts in the state, have already said that they will be moving forward AP African American Studies.
Okay.
And so it'd be interesting to see what else happens in the next couple of weeks of schools coming back.
Right. So that's what Senator Estevez was saying, that the importance of having strong school boards in order for them to be able to push back and say, no, whatever you say over there, this is what we're doing over here. So I want to thank you, Anoa, for calling in and sharing your thoughts. You are right in the thick of it in Atlanta, and so we appreciate you calling in with your thoughts on this topic.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adrianne, and good job with the show. Been enjoying listening.
Thank you. Okay, so when we come forward in a bit, we are actually going to take a moment to hear. We're going to circle back to this conversation about all the excitement that is out there. That has emerged in the last week around Kamala Harris's Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign. One of the things that Black PAC has been doing is, in addition to I've said before that we're knocking on doors across the country, having conversations with people right on their doorsteps, right on their stoops, about what they think about the election. But we were out this past week, just over the last few days, talking to voters in Philadelphia, talking to voters in North Carolina about this sort of shift that we just saw, what it means to them, what they think about the election, the degree to which people are paying attention, what they think about the vice president in this moment that really is quite historic. And there are people who are of different opinions. I was in focus groups earlier this week, and there was really, a difference of opinion. Everyone's not excited, and that's okay, right? That's sort of the job of the campaign, right? Is to get people excited, but people have different opinions, and so we're going to hear some of that. Both from the folks who were part of the team who were out having those conversations. We're going to hear from the voters themselves. So we do have some clips that we're going to play so that you all can hear what folks are saying around the country. So we have that in a lot more to talk about when we come forward here at KBLA 1580.
Harder to start a work of art to revolutionize, make a change, something strange. People, we are the same. No, we're not the same, cause we don't know the game. What we need is awareness. We can't get careless. You say, what is this? Our beloved, let's get down to business. Mental self-defense of fitness.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The potential Democratic nominee for president is making a return visit to Atlanta, Georgia. Vice President Kamala Harris, who is black, is planning to make a stop in the city on Tuesday. It will mark her 12th visit to the